So here we are once again, contemplating the spiritual path. And one thing to note or to think about is the idea of the now or the present moment as being just, the moment that stretches on and is, you know, timeless, just time in terms of time just being a concept, and the moment stretching on and on and on. Whereas right now one is in either time or within the realm of time or within the realm of what they call the now. Um, so how to move from being under the aegis of time to being under the aegis of the now. Um, well, as time goes on in one's spiritual practice, one begins to consider that all conceptual things, forms, ideas that are overlaid onto reality are based upon something that is not reality itself, but is rather a superimposition upon reality. So one is trying to get to a place where one's concern with the conceptual overlays onto reality isn't so strong as one's grounding in the, you might call, the fundamental reality. The fundamental reality is characterized by what you might say, what makes sense. What makes sense is dependent upon sets of opposites. You can think about the yin-yang, male and female. You can think about the Buddha nature and its sets of opposites and so forth. You can think even about the well, if you want, I was going to say the now and the concept of time, but concepts are solid in a sense that they have a use, a value in terms of relative stuff that goes on, but the ground of reality is only what is really there. So then we ask ourselves, what is really there, right? Well, what is really there is well, you can look at it two ways. Pretty much two ways. One is to see reality as void, due to the analysis of reality as the idea that if you analyze something down to its component parts, you will find eventually that there's nothing there. The famous example being the chariot, which broken down into its parts, there's no chariot found. This is a famous example from Buddhist philosophy. So you can think about reality as sort of like that, sort of like if you break all these concepts about reality down into the fundamental reality, what is, then you find that the concepts, while they have a relation to reality, are not actually really related to the fundamental reality. So the ground, therefore, is to see that reality, you could say, just is, and to base one's efforts not on a attempt to master mastering concepts is used too, but not on an attempt to master reality based upon concepts, but instead to simply be in the world as it is. Then, of course, there's the the conditioning of the person or sentient being, and other factors that figure into it, such as genes, the status of one's intellect, stuff like that. But so in the sort of normal one-of-the-mill analysis of reality, one uses concepts to describe particular areas of reality and breaks reality down into certain pieces. And just like the cherry doesn't exist when it's broken down into its pieces, the conceptual, the attempt to explain reality conceptually, sort of, breaks down, and you see that it's just reality. So from that point of view, what are we doing here? What is our purpose? If there's just the reality and we're just here, and why are we trying to figure it out? That is a function of our of the way that a human being, or it's pretty much human being functions and works, is that a human being is generally trying to figure stuff out. How then does one come to a place where one can figure stuff out without the use of concepts? The practice of meditation itself is a sort of, it takes into account conditioning and the attempt to not recondition, but condition. When one is meditating, one is attempting to condition oneself within the reality itself, rather than to be reliant upon one's historical and so forth conditioning, and to therefore come into a state of living, what you might call living in reality, rather than living in a conceptual fabrication. So living in reality then is to be and to present a being who is in harmony with reality. Now, harmony with reality necessarily relies upon the dissolving or potential dissolving of the conceptual framework of reality. So meditation is something that one can do to try to go beyond concepts. Concepts are created by thought, and thought in meditation is to be observed rather than to be either analyzed or acted upon. So leaving, what does that leave then? If one is living on the ground of living within a basic ground of reality, rather than living within a conceptual reality. Well, just the process of being, the process of understanding is also is related to the process of being. Understanding not in terms of conceptual ideas, but in terms of what you might call viable or correct perception. So it's like walking up a staircase. This is an example. So walking up a staircase and then sort of realizing, I've been in the same basic place all along. It just so happens that while I'm walking up a staircase, it seems as if I'm walking up a staircase, whereas wherever I am on the staircase, the reality itself remains the same. So if you can imagine that, or just being a the first step, really, I would say, is to be a conscious being, a being that is conscious of how, or aware of how they are approaching reality. And the first step there is to become aware that there is something beyond concept. Um, Now, concepts in terms of Dharma and stuff like that are quite useful for digging into the mystery, you might say, but the mystery itself is not a one that has much to do with narrative or whatever. The mystery is just how do we the resolution of the mystery would not be to figure out, oh, this is this and that is that, but to rather live in such a way that one is living in the reality rather than the conceptual reality. So meditating to dissolve concepts, being aware of what one is doing, and then of course there's other things such as practicing compassion and love, stuff like that is encouraged. Some people encourage it as a kind of method. It is cultivating positive values that can then be used to approach the world at any point along one's journey to understanding. So there's only the reality itself. That's all that there is, and everything that's ever been overlaid conceptually upon it is something else that is entertaining, but not necessarily having much. It's just tethered. It's like tethered to reality. It's like a boat is anchored, but not having too much to do with the fundamental ground, the way that reality really is. Okay, thank you.